Luisa has been kind enough to partner up with the channel once again. Ana Luisa is a US-based jewellery company. Now what I really like about Ana Luisa is that they care. They care about their customers by providing us with stunning jewellery pieces that are really good quality but also budget friendly. Now they have a huge variety of different pieces on their website, so everyone should be able to find something that they like on there. Now they also offer free international shipping when your order reaches a certain threshold, which is really awesome because that means that no matter where you are in the world, you're not being left out and you can enjoy Ana Luisa's jewellery. They also very much care about the planet. Sustainability is their mission, and as a company, they are 100% carbon neutral and also 100% water neutral, which is amazing. Now let me tell you, my Ana Luisa jewellery that I've had since January still looks just as amazing as it did on day one, and I have pretty much been wearing it every single day. Now, with the holiday season coming up, this might be the perfect occasion to look for a special gift for a friend or a family member. Ana Luisa even makes it easy for you by showing you all the most popular gifted items on their website. If you are interested and you want to check out Ana Luisa's stuff, go down to the description box and click on the link that is included. You can even use my code JuliesQB20 for 20% off your order. Once again, go to the link in the description box and use the code JuliesQB20 for 20% off your order. Thank you so much, Ana Luisa, for partnering up for tonight's video. Now with that being said, and of course, as always, without any further ado, let's get into tonight's stories, shall we? Alrighty, so the first story for tonight was originally posted by a Reddit user called Mummy to Four. Their story is called Very Creepy Date Experience. We've all had bad dates, right? This is the only date that I've had to date that rang every alarm bell and waved every red flag. I'll preface this by saying that I don't go on many dates, but when I do, I make sure I follow safety protocol by only meeting my date in public places, let either family or friends know where I'm going, and park in a populated place close by to wherever we meet. Smart. Now, anyway, this date initially suggested we go and meet at his house to watch a movie and have a few drinks. Now I told him no, I don't feel comfortable with that, and I only want to meet in public. He seemed okay with this, but then he brought it up a few more times, and I said if money is an issue, we can meet up another time or just forget about it altogether because it really wasn't that important. But my date backtracked and went with my idea of meeting at a cafe I chose. Now it was a cafe that I was familiar with and equidistant to where we both lived. Now anyway, he turns up in a two-door car. This detail is relevant. And he goes into the cafe and I follow behind and introduce myself. After a polite introduction, things begin to get weird, don't they always? Now, I order a Coke and he says, "Don't you want a drink?" I was going to pop into the bar, which is connected to the cafe, and get one. I say, "No, I'm says something along the lines of having a few drinks and eating at his place. And I say, we don't have to eat. We can just get drinks and leave. He gets defensive and he says he has money, but he prefers it if we go back to his. Wow, this is wild. I make a joke and say, "You're not a killer, are you?" And instead of laughing it off, he stares at me uncannily and says, "You don't think I would hurt you, do you?" Now I laugh really uncomfortably and say, "Of course not, but really I'm relieved this date won't be going any further." The date suddenly says, "Are you going to follow me in your car? Because that wouldn't make sense. How about we go in my car? But I've got packages in the front, so you'll have to squeeze in the back, and I'll drop you back off to your car after." Now, in reality, this just made less sense than me following in my car and just driving home from his house. The fact it was completely illogical made it even more creepy in my mind. Every alarm bell was going off at this point. I said, "Look, I don't want to go to yours, and your insistence is honestly giving me the creeps." My date looks shocked, mumbles something about needing the toilet, and excuses himself from the table. A few moments later, I see him through the cafe window, getting into his car and driving off. Honestly, massive bullet dodged, in my opinion. Also, the fact that his car didn't have any back doors made it even more sinister, because imagine if something happened in the car and I couldn't escape, seeing as he wanted me to crawl into the back. Honestly, him being upset that the Redditor wasn't drinking, I'm pretty certain that his original plan was to just get her a drink and spike it so he could forcefully take her to his apartment or to his house, wherever he lived. The fact that he was so insistent on getting her there, even before they met up. In the messages, he was super insistent on having it be at his place. Which, who's going to be comfortable with that on the first date? You just go to some random stranger's house that you've met on a dating app. That doesn't make sense. Like, no one in their right mind would do that. Wow. And then they agreed on doing it at this bar, but then he really still wanted to take her to his place. I mean, there's a reason for that, and it's not anything good or friendly. I would bet anything on that. Wow. I really hope that the Redditor reported this guy on whatever dating app she met him on, because this could potentially be dangerous. Honestly, it is such a good thing that this Redditor had the street smarts to follow the safety protocol that you're supposed to follow when you meet somebody for the first time off the internet. I mean, if this guy doesn't get reported and just carries on scouring the internet for gullible women who will come to his place, it's bound to go wrong. So I really hope he got reported and he got thrown off of that platform, whatever it was. Wow. Always be careful when you're dating online. Make sure to keep yourself safe and do whatever it takes. This one was originally posted by a Reddit user called Anonymous Girl Dash, and their story is called Gut Instinct. This story happened about 6 years ago now, but it still makes me wonder what would have happened if I didn't follow my gut instinct. I've always been very aware of my surroundings. Growing up, my parents and grandparents always instilled in my sister and I to be well aware of your surroundings, especially when you're alone, and to follow your gut instinct if you feel like the situation you're in is off. Because of this, I've always left situations I felt a bad vibe from, no matter if things didn't seem too strange to others. Why take the risk? I mean, preach, why take the risk? That's a very good question. I mean, don't take the risk. It's not worth it. Alright, I feel like your body knows what's up, even if you can't see it. So anyways, fast forward to this day. I never finished high school, so I was doing a program at college in order to get a certificate that was equivalent to a high school diploma in order to get into college. The college I was doing the program at was in the same city as where I live. However, I didn't have a car, nor did I drive, so I had to take the bus to and from classes when I had them. Usually the bus ride altogether took about 45 minutes, and I had to transfer onto a second bus at one point. Up until this point, nothing weird or bad had ever happened while on my journey to classes. I mean, then you've been very lucky. But also no, because you're posting this story, so. Now on this particular day, I had finished my classes and was waiting for the first bus to go home. Since my classes weren't like regular classes, I usually finished before most of the students in the actual college courses got out. I only had 1 or 2 classes a day, which meant most of the time there weren't too many others waiting for the bus at the same time as me. The bus I was waiting for finally pulls up, and I get on as usual. I go grab a seat at the front of the bus and notice that there is absolutely no one else on the bus but me. So I get happy knowing there won't be many stops on my ride home, and therefore I will get there quicker. It's the little things, you know. Gotta be happy about the little things in life. Now, about 2 stops later, the bus stops and a male passenger gets on. I think nothing of it at first, and I'm still glad that there's only one other person on the bus, because that'll still make it a quick ride home. As the man walks to take a seat on the bus, instead of sitting like on the opposite side or at the back, he sits right beside me. Not even like a seat over, literally right beside me. I mean, that triggers me so much. As you guys know, I take the train to work every single day, and it may be a big move, but I always put my bags on the seat next to me because I've just had too many creepy encounters on public transport, so no one is sitting next to me anymore, okay? Alright, so this guy gets on the bus and goes and sits right next to the Redditor. Now, I'm thinking this is strange, because usually when I get on a bus, if there's plenty of empty seats, I won't pick a seat right next to someone. You don't do that. I mean, nobody does that. I usually enjoy sitting by myself, listening to music on the ride, so I decided to get up and go to the back of the bus. While I'm sitting in the back, listening to music, the male passenger keeps staring at me every few seconds, and it's starting to make me feel uneasy. would have felt uneasy so much quicker into that whole situation. Up until this point, I didn't really have any alarm bells going off in my head, but the more he kept looking at me, the more I started to get bad vibes. I eventually started having a really strong gut feeling like I needed to get off of the bus. I can't describe it, but the bad vibes I was getting were making me feel super uneasy. I decided I was going to get off at the next intersection where a stop was, just in case it decided to do anything or follow me. At least I wouldn't be on a side street alone with no one there. So the next intersection stop is coming up, and I press the button on the bus to be let off. As the bus is about to pull over and stop, I get up to walk to the door, and I notice that the male passenger is getting up too. So I think to myself, that's weird. So I decide to get off of the front of the bus by the driver as opposed to the back, and the male passenger gets off with me. Well, now at this point I am freaking out, and I walk ahead a bit, and I notice that he is indeed following me. The bus is at a red light at the stop, and the doors are still opened, so I decide to go back onto the bus, thinking this man won't follow me. Wrong. He follows me back onto the bus. What in the name of... Now at this point, I am really freaked out, and the bus driver closes the doors to drive away. I immediately say, sorry, I gotta get off at this stop, and he opens them again, and I notice the male passenger is again about to get up and get off with me. Thankfully, the bus driver closes the doors and drove off. I don't know if he knew the man was following me and decided to not let him off, or if he just wanted to drive away. But as the bus pulled away, I noticed the man who followed me standing at the front of the bus, staring at me through the window. Let me tell you something. I really hope that you flipped the bird at him as he was driving off on that bus. At this point, I'm glad he's away from me, but I decide to not wait for the next bus because I didn't know if this man was going to get off at the next stop and come walk back to the stop I was at to see me. Oh my god, that is so smart. I don't know if I would have even thought of that. I ended up calling my mum to come pick me up, which seems like the best course of action in this situation. I'm glad my gut instinct knew that something was up, and I got off of the bus before he followed me all the way home, because I live on a side street that's about a 7-minute walk from the bus stop, so who knows what would have happened. So sketchy man on the bus, let's not meet again. Let me tell you, I am shooketh at this man just so blatantly being a creep in broad daylight on public transport. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised that shit like this happens because it's happened to me before. I've told you guys about this in one of my older videos, about the guy who literally followed me on public transport all the way to my driveway, and I didn't realise. I mean, since that happened, I've kept my head on a swivel. Like, I am hyper aware now of my surroundings, and nothing like that has happened since. Like, not to that extreme. But man, let me tell you, it was scary. I think it will forever continue to baffle me, like just the audacity of some people, just the fact that they have no problem whatsoever just being days sooner, she still handled the situation perfectly, and she stayed safe, and she got home safe, and she didn't get followed. That guy, I mean, there is a very, very special place in hell for people like that. Wow. Alrighty, on to the last story for tonight. This one was originally posted by a Reddit user called MoonlightGemsArt. Their story is called The Random Lawn Mower Man. When I was 12-ish, some random dude turned up at our house, and although creeped out, I never thought all that much of it. Looking back on it now, it was actually pretty disturbing. My mum used to go and visit her auntie and uncle every Saturday for years. Sometimes I went with her, and sometimes I didn't. They only lived like a half an hour drive away, so her and my grandparents would head out at 11 a.m. and get back about 5 p.m. Now, one Saturday I decided that I just couldn't be bothered to go, so I stayed home. At about 3:30ish, I went into the kitchen to let the dog out into the garden. Before I opened the back door, I spotted through the window that our garage door was wide open. The side door to the garage that led down onto the patio in the garden. I then spotted that the gate leading into the garden was also wide open. This was odd, as the door and the gate were always locked. Now the gate in particular had a bolt on the inside that you certainly could not reach from the outside. Just as I opened the door, this random man just casually steps out of the garage and starts walking towards the gate. Still standing at the back door, I shouted over, "Can I help you with something?" The guy looked at me, not particularly surprised or anything, and walked over. He said he was a friend of my parents and they had arranged for him to come over and mow the lawn while they were out. Now, I knew this was a complete lie for a multitude of reasons. Number one, my dad was at work and my mum was away for a few hours. They're not going to arrange for someone random to come over and do the garden. Number two, they'd never in their life gotten somebody else over to do the gardening. Number three, if for some bizarre reason they'd have told me that he was coming around. Number four, my mum had actually mowed the lawn a couple of days before. Number five, had this been arranged, why would he not know that the lawnmower was in the shed and not in the garage? And number six, it was late November/early December time, and it was already starting to get dark. Not wanting to mess with this guy who clearly just stated that he knew my parents weren't there, I just told him not to worry about the garden. I would do it. But he was insistent, saying it had been arranged. I told him that he would still get paid, but again to not worry about the garden. He said he wasn't getting paid. That freaked me out a bit, as by that point I'd assumed that he was just some chancer trying to con a bit of money out of me. Yeah, your parents want me to mow the lawn, but they haven't paid me yet, that sort of thing. Now I told him that there was no reason for him to do it then, said goodbye and shut and locked the back just as I went to get the phone, the guy climbed into a car that I hadn't seen properly because of the angle of the window and the road, etc., that was parked in front of the house. He drove off super slowly. I couldn't see him in the car, but I got the feeling that he was still watching the house as he went. Don't ask me why, but I very stupidly didn't tell either of my parents about this when they got in. Looking back now, it's so unbelievably creepy. I first thought that maybe he was gonna try and break in, but then didn't because I was there. And then I thought maybe he was checking the house out so he could break in later. But why do that when you knew that someone was in? Besides, he didn't look like he had the strength to break into a paper bag, never mind a house. He was a scrawny, lanky dude, maybe 60 years old or so, and he seemed really slow and weak. Plus, there were things in the garage that he could have stolen, but he didn't. How did he know my parents weren't in? Because he obviously knew they weren't there. He didn't look the slightest bit shocked or concerned when he saw me. Certainly not like you'd expect someone to look if they'd been caught in the act. How did he get the gate unlocked? Why was he ringing the doorbell? Why was he actively trying to get into the house knowing I was in there? Hell no. Hell no. Oh my God. Wow. Honestly, as I was reading this, my first thought was also that it was some kind of con, right? Like how sometimes you'll get people who claim to be from a company that washes rooftops or that washes windows, and then they like let you pay beforehand or afterwards, but they do like really bad service, you know, that kind of con. You know, or also it has happened with like mowing lawns and stuff where the person will actually mow your lawn already and then try to get you to pay for it even though you didn't ask them to. At first I thought it was something like that, but then the Redditor said that he kept hanging around, looking into the windows, ringing the doorbell and actively trying to get into that house. Now that is extremely concerning. I mean, the Redditor mentioned that they were 12 years old when this happened. Like, what if this guy deliberately wanted to get in because he knew that a 12-year-old was in there on their own? Wow. I mean, I doubt the police would have been able to do anything even if the Redditor did tell their parents about what happened. Because, you know, no proof, nothing actually happened, etc., etc. I mean, wow, I am so, so glad that the Redditor stayed safe that night. Because this is creepy shit. Honestly, especially for a child to go through that, to have someone actively walk around your house and try to get in, look into the windows and everything. I mean, that must have been terrifying. You don't know what to do. As a 12-year-old, you're just a baby. You don't know what to do. Wow, that is wild. choosing